Hello and welcome to another exclusive interview by Recovery Today Magazine, Recovery Today podcast, where first and foremost, we're a magazine of hope. Whether you're considering addiction recovery for yourself or a loved one, maybe you've been sober and in recovery for many, many years, or maybe you're brand new, maybe you're not sober yet at all, you're going to find all kinds of information and topics related to addiction recovery and really living a happy, successful, and sober life. My name is Rob Handley. I'm the editor-in-chief of Recovery Today. And as usual, I got another really cool guest. He grew up in a very dysfunctional and abusive home, which led him into a deep depression. And that's where substance abuse started. From age 12 to 20, he was heavily involved in drug dealing and using. And by age 20, he'd attempted suicide. This was his wake-up call. Fast forward, today he is the founder and CEO of Rise Again Coaching, where he works with his clients as a health and wellness coach, a mindset coach, business development coach, and a recovery coach. He's developed health clubs, started insurance companies, and today he is also the president of a publicly traded company on the stock exchange. My guest today, Sean Alexander. Dude, thanks for taking a minute.
Rob, thank you, man. I'm very grateful to be here.
Right on. Well, that's everybody loves a Rocky story.
Yeah.
And nobody likes a story with a guy that is born the grandson of Rockefeller or something.
Right.
I know it was Creedence Clearwater. I didn't have born with a silver spoon.
Right.
And we love the whole rags to riches and overcoming and all of that. So I just love, I just love kind of this just first brush of who you are. My first question always is, kind of give us a nitty gritty, man. Tell us a little bit, fill in some pieces and tell us the story, man.
Yeah, man. The compressed version. I mean, again, I'm very grateful and appreciative to be here because, I try and tell everybody that does come across my way is your story can change your life. Don't be afraid to share it. And don't worry about what the fuck society says about not sharing and keeping quiet because it's embarrassing. No, definitely share it because somebody out there is going to connect and they're going to be inspired by it to want to make a change. So again, I'm very grateful to be here and appreciate this opportunity. But yeah, my parents are Middle Eastern and Persian. My parents are very, old school, and father grew up himself in a toxic, abusive home. He's got many brothers. They used to fight, and then his dad used to kick the shit out of them to, as a form of discipline. So that kind of bled over into my childhood. And me being, a wild kid, I always wanted to wrestle and play with dad. And dad was working 20 hours a day, sometimes 3 days straight. And, just for fun, he used to just kick the crap out of me, punch me in the head and slam my head on the floor. And I always came back. I never retaliated or resented dad because it was dad, and when we're growing up, everyone looks up to their father. Right. And, I'm a family of 4 kids. So I'm the 4th. My 2 oldest siblings were born with chronic illnesses where they basically didn't have the ability to walk, to speak. They were wheelchaired. Eventually they had to live in facilities because we couldn't do it ourselves. So that was very depressing for me to witness and experience. And I, from when I can remember, they were already in wheelchairs. I never got to experience anything with them as a normal, siblinghood. And so between the abuse, the emotional abuse from my mom and sister, at the age 12, I'm being Middle Eastern, I'm already 6'2". I got my facial hair as a Middle Eastern. So like I'm 12 looking like I'm 30 years old. And, so I'm hanging out with dudes that are 16, 17, 18 years old. And, I got introduced to, I was just hanging out with them, smoking cigarettes. And the next thing I know, I'm snorting Ritalin and Adderall, and then that obviously leads to smoking weed, then doing coke, and then experiencing other drugs. One thing led to another until the next thing I know is I'm cocktailing, acid, or some people know it as LSD, marijuana, and cocaine all together at one time. Those were my choices of drugs on a
all at one time.
Yeah, it was a triple threat, like daily basis. And
wow.
Most people did not know how much I was really doing, except for the few people that I was actually doing it with.
And how old were you?
I started at 12.
12, you're
And
taking
so,
dropping acid every day and
yeah,
all
man, I
this.
was already like, I
What was
was
it again? Acid and what else?
acid, cocaine, and marijuana.
How do you support a habit like that at 12?
They, I was hanging out on that. They had it. I didn't have,
Okay.
but I was hanging out with them every day because they lived up the street from me, and then eventually, like, I kind of got into drug dealing at a very young age because I wanted to support that habit,
Yeah.
and I wanted to do it daily. And then, every weekend or every other weekend, we would cocktail more into the mix of that. So sometimes we would add mushrooms and ecstasy into that mix, or we would do what some people might remember as candy flipping. Um,
Yeah,
it's
because
just,
LSD and Coke and whatnot's not enough. You got to throw some shrooms in there too.
yeah, right. So some wild trips, and definitely some, I'm never going to take this away. Some great times.
Yeah.
But it was my escape from reality because I just didn't want to deal. I hated my life. I hated my family. I hated my parents. I hated the shitty people I was around the whole time because you couldn't really, we all know it. When you're an addict and you're using, you don't know who you can trust, and it's almost no one. If you're hanging around with a bunch of other drug addicts.
Yeah.
And so, I was in an abusive relationship as well at the time. She was also an addict. And by the time I'm 20, I wake up one day and I'm like, I'm fucking sick and tired of my life. I'm sick and tired of being a piece of shit to society, being a piece of shit to other kids, drug dealing. And I just hated everything about my life. And, next thing I know, I decided to pop a whole bunch of pills and hopefully just never wake up. And guess what? Because I had such a massive tolerance to drugs, I just got really fucked up instead of actually ending up in the hospital. Obviously some stomach aches and a little bit of vomiting here and there, but nothing strenuous.
Didn't work.
Yeah, it didn't work. And then, then I put a gun to my head, and then and I didn't have the balls to pull the trigger. And then, I decided, like, okay, you know what? I'm back at this again. And next thing I know, I'm on the ledge of my second story window. I push the screen out and I'm sitting over the ledge, ready to just jump off. I'm just kind of like giving my prayers that, like, fuck my life. I'm finally ready to end this. And, I, just before I let go, I heard a voice speak to me and tell me that, call it God, whatever people believe in, that said, it's not your time, man. It's not your time. I don't let you pull the trigger last time. I didn't take your life when you popped a bunch of pills. It's not your time. And you're meant for something more. And you just got to give yourself a chance. No one else is going to come save you, but you have to. And so, like, I actually sat there once. I swear I heard this voice as I sat there, and I just kind of contemplated for a little bit. Like, do I really deserve a chance? Can I actually give myself a chance? I don't know who I can go to. And so, I sat for a little bit, and then I went back inside and I said, okay, you know what? Fuck it. Let's give it a shot. I already knew right away. I had the awareness to not trust anybody, not surround myself with shitty people. Let me change my environment. And I made a deal with the devil. I told myself, and I took an oath, that if I relapse, I'm going to eat the bullet this time. And I knew that because I wasn't afraid to die. I just couldn't pull the trigger at that time because, again, maybe it just wasn't time yet. And so, from there, I went to a couple of AA and NA meetings, and I'm like, this isn't going to work for me. I don't want to be around a bunch of other crackheads that maybe don't even want to be there, or their excuses of relapsing on the weekend is being forgiven. Like, I don't want to be around it. Like, there's no way I'm going to stay clean if I stay in this environment. And I certainly don't want to look like that fucking sponsor that they're speaking, because he looks like shit anyways. I don't care if he's been sober for 10 years. That's not what I want to look like. If I'm going to go on to live a sober life, I'd rather just be high than look like that guy. Mm-hmm. And so I decided, all right, what do I need to do? And I was like, you know what? The last 10 years, I've been just completely destroying my mind, my body, my spirit. Let me reverse engineer all this and at least just get healthy. I dropped out of school. I was going to go to law school. I was going to go to UCLA. I said, screw school. And I just focused on my mental health, my well-being, studied some exercise, nutrition, and just started to work on myself and submerged myself into personal development, seminars on leadership and growth, got around very, very successful people, And over the years, I always had a mentor just to make sure that, somebody that I wanted to emulate in life.
Mm-hmm.
And, one thing led to another. And once after like a couple of years that I realized like, okay, I think I got a grasp of this thing. I'm still going through, I'm still battling my demons, but I was like, I think I got this. Now it's time to take it to the next level. Then I got into health and wellness coaching because it really did change my life.
You can't really tell from what you're wearing there, but your body is like sick, dude. Like, yeah, man. Like I saw someone, obviously when you're a fitness coach or whatnot, you got to show it off. And in the feature, we'll have some of these pictures that we talked yesterday, some eye candy and whatnot like that. But like, damn, dude, like that's like Arnold says, you can't buy that. You can't borrow that. You got to
you got to put the work in.
Yeah.
And I've had this slogan ever since I got sober. I had the slogan, and I use it to this day in my recovery coaching, is change your addictions to healthy obsessions. And I 100% believe in that. And I've been in wars and battles, confrontational conversations with therapists telling me that you can't use the word obsession, that's triggering and da 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 da. And I was like, no, fuck you. Like, you can't tell me what I can't use, because at the end of the day, an addict will be an addict for the rest of their life. Now, whether they use substance or not is a different story. But if that addictive personality, the things that we obsess over that keep us in this world of drug and alcohol, there's got to be a different form of using those terms. And that's when I realized, like, I can create healthy obsessions for myself, because I'm always going to be.
Here's my question. Here's my initial question on all of this is that just kind of popped up is, are you happy today? Are you happy?
Yeah, I am.
So do you feel like you're at peace today? Like you are a high energy. It's very obvious to tell that you're a driven, purposeful, goal-oriented type of person, which of course you would expect from everything, your resume, and then even for part of your story. But the main thing I wonder is like happiness and peace. Is that something that you could say, yeah, like I'm
100%. Yeah, 100%. I have 100% made peace with my past. I've made peace with my demons. As a matter of fact, that's part of my recovery coaching, is actually not just making peace with your demons, but developing an alliance with your demons. Because here's the thing, those of us that come from traumatized backgrounds and histories, your demons don't take days off. They will be there for the rest of your life. The difference is how do you cope with it and how do you handle it? What's your mechanism of control when these thoughts start to creep in? And don't get me wrong, I'm nowhere close to perfect. I don't live a perfect life. I just know the steps that I have to do on a day-to-day basis to earn my positive mental attitude and to earn the right to be where I'm at. I don't take days off. I don't take days off from exercise. I don't take days off from working. Again, because at any given time, again, I say this to people, your demons don't take days off. Why the fuck should you be taking a day off?
Can you? Are you okay to lie on a beach and just chill out?
I can. No, I can. Because it's been so many years. I've been clean for 17 years now. Now it's just.
Let me interject real quick here a little bit, because obviously, we've got a wide audience here. When we were talking on the phone a little bit, I explained probably most of the content that we have, most of the people that are readers of Recovery Today and watch our interviews and things like that. Probably most of them are more traditional 12-step based. I'd say most, but I don't mean like 90%.
Sure. Like 60, 70%.
Yeah, 60, 70%, something like that. And so we say it many, many times, every time I have an opportunity. We overall as a magazine, we don't care how you get sober. Now we're actually even starting to talk a little bit about, psychedelics and plant medicine in terms of helping people get over this initial hump.
Sure.
Where I think what it is in their brain, I think it's the amygdala, or the reptilian brain, is basically kind of enslaved the rest of your brain. That's why I tell people, when you're an addict, you're literally crazy. You're literally not in control. This is why you steal your mom's wedding ring and you do, sell your body and you do all this shit that nobody would ever think. Like, how could you do that? Well, I'm not in my right mind. but
No.
we don't care how you get sober as long as that's why I asked you, like, are you happy? Are you at peace? Can you, if you want to, can you lie down and take a nap and just chill and relax and be okay? These kind of things. And then more than like your answers is, do you have other people around you that would go, yeah, Sean's awesome, man. He's a good guy. He's my husband or my boyfriend or my, whatever it is, my best friend, my business partner. Love that guy. He's rock solid. You got other people that everybody in society would say, yeah, those are normal people. Like you got witnesses that would say, good guy. 17 years, that's legit. So I don't care how you get there. A lot of people live by meetings and things like that. They get well, they get healthy, they have sponsors. Perfect. Love it. Continue whatever is working for you, continue to do it. But there's obviously people like you that are going to go to a meeting and they're going to say, this ain't for me. Or there's people that are probably not wired like you, that you sound very self-starting. You channeled this inner rage that you have, and maybe they don't, they just, they don't have that, and they really need somebody to be a sponsor, to be a friend, to be, whatever in that case. So again, I just kind of like to lay that foundation all the time, that I don't really feel personally that recovery is one size fits all. And I don't really care how you get.
That's the thing. That's actually one of the reasons why I even got into recovery coaching, is because again, that's not my main bread and butter. I do it as a personal project to my heart, because I feel like the way the system and society has told people how to get better and how to heal is very one-sided. You got to do this. You got to do the 12 steps. You got to go to meetings. You got to go to treatment. Like, you have to do all these things, but it's like, not everybody wants to do that. And for many cases, and I know you've heard this before, some people actually end up relapsing because they go to meetings or doing the 12 steps, because there's certain things that start to trigger them. And that's why for me, it's really more about, now, if they want to go down that path, great, more power to them. I've nothing against it. But I believe in freestyling and reverse engineering your healing process first, because at the end of the day, if you're going to get healthy, look, we've lived a shitty life between alcohol, drugs, we eat like shit. There is science that proves and shows our mind is polluted from the crap that we eat. So if you just start eating healthy and eating clean, you improve your cognition, you improve your critical thinking skills, you're able to process and comprehend on a whole different level. You can actually have a better understanding and have more awareness, not just within yourself, but the people around you. So I'm a sole believer that it has to start with exercise and nutrition, just as the very first step in your road to personal development and recovery.
Well, I love this because, see, first of all, one of my beliefs, and that's, maybe I'll pose it a little bit as a question, or you can tell me, yeah, is I think, and I choose to frame things this way because I love personal development. I'm a big believer in the subconscious mind. My personal belief is your subconscious mind is an antenna to God.
Yeah.
And I think that all knowledge and all help and assistance is available in the infinite, as Napoleon Hill said, and actually in all of his books, he called it infinite intelligence. So higher power, whatever it might be. But I think that it's all accessible, but you got to kind of be able to tune your mind into the right frequency.
Correct.
But so what I think about when I think of most people that become addicted and they're in recovery is, I choose to frame it that this is actually a superpower, or even ADD, and that you have an ability for pain tolerance, maybe, or for whatever it might be. It all is in the eye of the beholder. It's all in how you choose to frame it. So it's not a surprise to me. And I think that personal development fits hand in glove, and business development and bodybuilding and all of these kind of things. It fits hand in glove, from going from this Rocky story, kind of how I opened, where it's tragedy, 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 to triumph, to great triumph.
Yeah, conquer.
Yeah. And then I think about, what is it that you really want? Is it millions? Is it this, that, and the other? Is it a big, and all of those things are wonderful and great. But I do feel like at the end of the day, the main thing that we're actually in pursuit of is love, and really to be at peace with ourselves. And but it's not a surprise to me, man, that you would be able to channel that rage and then be able to you know, you're in the gym and it's like, no, one more, one more, one more, one more. And you think
Right.
of painful things that you can use to move forward. And the other part that I will say is, I have said many times, I don't use the word obsession. I use the word like addiction itself, because it's a little bit more visceral kind of a term.
Sure.
And I like to tell people, if you're going to be addicted to something, okay, I just forget, I understand like obsession, but if you're going to get addicted to something, get addicted to something that is esteemable.
Serves you.
So, you know, yeah, that's just that's esteemable. So we work on these feedback loops in our brain, like who are we and do we like ourselves? We also, as we interact with other people, all of the little micro kind of things and how they react to us, it gives us feedback that we're okay. And so when bodybuilding and working on your body is an easy one, because you're going to feel better physically. You're going to look at yourself in the mirror and you're going to go, damn, man, I look pretty, I look pretty good. The other sex is going to respond in micro kind of ways. That's going to give you feedback to say like, I feel pretty good. And I do feel like even the physical side of it leads into and parlays into other type of success. You get into a business meeting and you look sharp.
Correct.
And so all of those kind of things.
Well,
so
I try and tell people,
down
like,
on all of this.
I try and tell people, listen, if you can get your mind and body right, and you actually have create that discipline as a principle of yours, and you actually have an intention to carry that discipline into the other categories of your life, there is no other way but going up. Because if you can be supremely disciplined in your health, fitness, and nutrition and your mindset and reading books, and you take that same energy into business, into your relationship, into your family life, into your spiritual life, you can't lose.
Yeah.
There's so much to learn from. And, you know, like I try and tell people, like, and you said this, and I just gave this speech last week, us addicts and alcoholics and anything else that we come from, we have superpowers that the rest of the regular world does not have, which means we have an edge over normal people that gives us the ability to become more successful than the average person. It's just a matter of, are we applying ourselves? You know, and I've helped a lot of people go from $30, $40, $50,000 incomes to $250,000, $1 million incomes by completely rewiring their brain, restructuring their lifestyle, restructuring their business depending on where it might be hurting. You know, and again, it's like, hey, let's channel some of these traumas. You know, and it kind of goes back into another part that you said is channeling that inner rage. Is I believe in becoming one with your dark side. Let it be a part of who you are. Let people see it. Why be afraid? Like if I was to run away from my dark side, man, that shit will haunt me for the rest of my life. But I wear it as a suit of body armor. So whether it's you or anybody else that has something negative to say about me, man, like I had this phrase called becoming emotionally invincible. There ain't a damn thing someone can ever say to me.
Now, why is that? Why is that?
Because people like us have been through so much shit between the trauma, the abuse, the drugs, alcohol, being betrayed, deceived, stabbed in the back. You know,
do you like David Goggins?
I love David Goggins.
So it's funny that we would kind of be on this train. I was just reading this morning.
You Can't Hurt Me.
You Can't Hurt Me, and from some of my own notes, and it was the cookie jar. Do you know the cookie jar?
I think I recall it.
So the cookie jar is painful experiences and things that you've overcome. Okay. So it's not necessarily painful experiences, but things that you live through, things that you've overcome.
Yeah.
It was adversities that you actually conquered. And every time you conquer it, it's like putting a cookie in the cookie jar. And so when you're in another situation that's very difficult, okay, and you're thinking, God, I can't do this, you just dig into the cookie jar and you pull out a cookie. And it actually even goes back, as a matter of fact, biblically. So if you remember the story in the Bible, I just think most people kind of know a little bit of the story of David and Goliath, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know how it's popped into my mind, but you know, David's this little dude, and Goliath. I think Goliath personally, I think Goliath was an actual Nephilim, which is like a 9 foot tall,
Yeah, giant, a
like a
monster.
freaking actual giant. Okay,
Right.
and dude freaking killed everybody and scared the shit out of all of them. Like,
Right.
and the little dude comes up and he's like, "Yeah, man, like, what's ever this all about?" And then, but his whole thing that his cookie jar was, I killed the lion and I killed the bear, because he had the slingshot. And when he watched the sheep or whatnot like that, he threw his freaking sling and he killed a lion, he killed the bear. And so he dug down into his cookie jar. So I think that these pains, if you're just breathing, then and you've made it through all of this trauma and adversity, then you've got cookies in your cookie jar. And all that you got to do is access them. And you pull out these past, maybe Tony Robbins, there's these past kind of things like, yeah, man, I did this and I did that, and I overcome this and that. Like, I can do this. And every time that you accomplish, you're actually putting another cookie into the cookie. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you couldn't be more dead on. And and here's the thing too, you can't. I say this because this is part of where I 100% believe a lot of people relapse. People that have been sober for 3, 5, 10 years and the relapse. At some point, I believe this in my fucking soul, man. If you stop doing the things that got you to become successful and sober in the first place, at some point you're going to go backwards, whether it's 5 years or 20 years down the line. You will 100% travel back in time and repeat the shit that you did because you stopped doing what you earned.
Yeah.
And I believe that. So
do you meditate at all? Do you pray? How you're a very, we don't know each other at all, but my perception and your tone and everything is very hard charging. And I'm wondering, like, what do you do from the internal side? Because I do think that channeling the rage is very, very good, but I also think that it can be
how do you comment?
It can be manic, like, yeah. and then it's too much, and then it's like, fuck, I gotta do something, man. I gotta look at porn, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, I gotta fucking drink,
So that's
because I do think that it's actually like baseline peace at the end that we're really, really after.
Well, it's a very good question. I'm glad you asked, because a lot of people ever ask me, like, dude, do you ever turn the button off? And if I want to, I can be on the whole time. But for me, I have a very structured routine every morning, every night, and how my day flows. And I believe in people should be starting their day with a stack of wins, self-serving things before the rest of the world is in demand, whether it's your kids, your wife, your family, work, whatever it is. You got to start your day off with personal self-care. So, I wake up at 2 a.m. every single morning.
2 a.m. you wake up?
Yeah. But here's the thing too, like, when you wake up that early, guess what? The rest of the world is still asleep, including the East Coast, So like, there is nothing but peace. No one needs your time. No one needs your energy. You get to serve yourself. So I wake up, I do my prayers of gratitude. The second I wake up, I don't snooze. I don't bullshit around. Prayers of gratitude, people that I'm grateful for, people that I've shown and proven, like, the highest level and standard of loyalty to me. And then I go into and I start reading a little bit. I read my books on depending on whether I'm trying to improve my leadership skills or something else. I'll read for about 15 to 30 minutes. And I'm a very heavy note taker, whether it's in my phone or highlight through the book. And then I'll eat breakfast. And part of that meditation
breakfast at like 3:15 or something like that.
Yeah, like at 3:00. But and I have dogs too. My dogs are part of my meditation process, because my dogs are the only actual like thing that helps also bring me peace. Because when I look at
kids,
them,
what's your personal deal? Are you married? You got kids?
No, I chose to not go the kid route. I wanted once upon a time, but because I knew that I was going to put my life into hyperdrive because of my ambitions, my current lifestyle would not be conducive to be a father as much as I would maybe want to be one.
You're still really young, man. That's cool.
Yeah, so I still got time, but I chose to go the path of having little fur balls. And they also give me peace, and I have my days too. Like, don't get me wrong.
Keep going on the morning routine though, because I'm at 3:15 and you're having
I am. So then I eat, and then 4 o'clock rolls around, and at 4 a.m. I'm either going for a 1 hour walk, or I'm going to the gym. And here's the thing, again, everyone's still asleep. No one's awake. No text messages, no emails, no cars on the streets.
Aren't you in Vegas though? You're walking around the strip at 4 a.m.
Well, except I don't live in the city, you know? And yeah, so like, for example, like when I go on a walk at 4 a.m. and it's still pitch black, guess what? I get to walk darkness.
Wow.
And I'm at peace. Like, again, that's why I try to tell people, like, be at peace with your darkness. Because when I walk the streets, when it's night, I'm walking through that darkness and I'm at peace with it. I'm not afraid of it. I got nothing triggering me. I'm having very truthful and honest conversations with myself. I'm self-reflecting during that process. That also gives me a lot of peace. Is understanding and learning more about who I am, who I was, and who I want to become. And so it's a whole process. And then once I'm done with everything, 5:30, I'm showered, cleaned up, get my next meal in. Now around 6 o'clock, boom, my time's in demand. I got emails coming in from the East Coast. I got people from Central I got to get on calls on, meet with clients starting at 8 o'clock. So at that point now, if you look at it, the first 4 or 5 hours of the day, I have only had to take care of myself. Energy is completely in hibernation, just taking care of me. Mindset is that
when you got a guy that you're coaching, maybe not even recovery coaching, just any kind of coaching, do you tell him, okay, Fred, like, here's what we're going to do is you're going to start waking up at 2 a.m. And because I only met one guy one time. I was at some internet marketing, camp that I went to, and the guy told me he got up at 3:30, and I thought, man, I get up at 5, and most people don't get up at 5, and this guy was like, no, I get up at. I go, what the hell do you do at 3:30, dude? 3:30?
Well, the thing is,
you're the new winner. That was actually my personal. So that's at least 12. That was 2013. So you're the new winner, man. That's a long, like 9, 12, 10
I'll take
years.
it. But no, when someone comes to me, I don't try to tell someone to get on my schedule. Again, we're crazy, right? So only us crazies can apply crazy into crazy situations. But I also believe crazy people rule the world.
So too. They do rule the world.
Yeah, 100%. But I try to tell them, like, listen, and again, it depends on the work schedule, because some people work on like across the country time zones, like, the other side of the world when they're awake, when everybody else is asleep. But again, based on their schedule, but I'll try to tell them, like, get up at 3:30 in the morning, 4 o'clock. Let's start with self-serving practices before people need you. Because look, if your day is starting with a stack of wins, your day is going in with full blown momentum. Yeah. So any kind of shit that could hit the fan the rest of the day is not going to slow you down, because you've already taken care of you. So whatever kind of obstacle that comes in, you're going to easily bulldoze right over it, and you're going to solve it immediately, because your mind is already in this solution-oriented mentality when the day actually begins for other people.
Why is it that you think that we actually need discipline? So in my personal situation as an entrepreneur, yes, I have demands. I've got clients. I've got always different things to do. And we finish one issue, we're on to the next one. There's always another interview and things like that. But in truth, I can kind of do, I can move things around however I want to do. I want to go to the gym early in the morning. I can. I want to go to the gym in the afternoon. I can. Sure. It's basically kind of and it's not just about the magazine. I would say it's basically a little bit of the curse, perhaps, if that's the right word to say, of the somebody that's self-employed, and I've got things that continue to go regardless of what I'm doing. Sure. So in that kind of a situation, what do you advise somebody? Like, make some kind of structure anyway and stick to it, and then in the end is like, why? Like,
look, man, it's got to be part of principles, because at first it's got to be for yourself. I think everybody should have some sort of structure.
Do we feel good about being disciplined? Do we feel
absolutely? There is self-gratification and fulfillment in knowing that you're disciplined, taking care of the things that you have to do, whether you want to do it or not.
Now, why is that? I mean, see, and I guess the difference, just for my own
perspective, because you're keeping a word to yourself, you're keeping promises to yourself. The whole reason why a lot of people relapse, or why people end up going down a path of depression, even if we remove drugs and alcohol from the equation, is people lose trust within themselves because they break promises to themselves, and that is why
we're really right down the exact path that I wanted to be on. But to differentiate is, I'm not talking about, yes, you need to be disciplined if you're ever going to get anything done, if you're ever going to achieve a goal, if you're ever going to fulfill your dreams. I'm actually not talking about that. What I'm talking about is, what does it do upstairs for you? Because ultimately, what I'm after is deep, meaningful connections with those that I love. I'm after peace. I'm after some kind of a self-appreciation, that I like myself, that I'm worthy, all of the different things like that. Like I like where I am right now is, I've got dreams and ambitions and things like that,
Sure.
but I'm much more in kind of this whole chill kind of a thing. Like I just want to, I figure I get like one life. I just want to fully experience it. But I recognize that I think that a lack of discipline or schedule and things like that leads to unfulfillment. Maybe it's things that you could have got done that you feel not, but I think you nailed it with like, you're keeping your word to yourself.
Right. And that bleeds into other areas of your life if you don't actually take care of that. Because look, and it's kind of like you said, trust equals peace. If I trust myself because I know I'm keeping my promise to myself, that gives me peace. Guess what? It's the same thing in a relationship, whether you're married, girlfriend, whatever. If you trust your partner and they travel the world or do whatever, whether it's work or vacation or whatever, and you're stuck at home because you got to work, you have peace because you know you can trust that person. They're going to go somewhere. So trust to me is self-trust to me is the highest level and form of peace that you can obtain.
I'll share something a little bit here. I'm pretty transparent usually in my interviews on the personal side, and not a big secret. I've been married for many, many years, 23 years. And the joke I would say a lot of times is, 12 of the happiest of my life,
Right.
meaning the other ones were not. And as can happen, there's different good times and there's bad times. And in the time that was actually particularly bad, not long ago, I made a full-on inventory. In fact, I searched the internet for how to turn things around, different stuff like that. And I made a full-on inventory of all these things. I won't go into complete detail of different things I liked and didn't like and whatnot. But it was interesting as I analyzed the entire list, the thing that I arrived at the most is the reason that things are not good right now is she doesn't trust you. Not from I will share this, not from a fidelity side, because I don't want to have any illusions. But what I mean is that the things that you say that you're going to do, small or large, okay, she doesn't believe that shit. Right. So, and I think from a male female, I've read that females are always thinking about what actually could and it also is hope. Maybe it's a human condition that they're thinking about something better in the future. So you're a guy and you're like, yeah, things are going to be this, that, and the other. And they might listen and nod or something like that. But then they're thinking that's bullshit. So I really started to live by this mantra that if I say it, I do it. If it's little things, fix the sink, I'm going to fix the fence, all this shit that I had that was from a couple of years back that I'd been saying, oh yeah, I'm going to get to it. I just started knocking that shit off the list. And if I wasn't going to get something done, and I said I was going to get something done, I reported back, if you will, and said, yeah, I know I didn't, by the way, I was going to fix the fence this weekend, but it was freaking raining and I didn't really want to just do it out in the rain. So I'm going to actually get it done next weekend or whatever. But overall, what starts to happen is you start to develop, and it's not just for you, you start to develop this identity that if I say I'm going to do something, I do it. Yeah. And then other people start going, one thing I like about Rob, if he says he's going to do something, the dude's, if he's going to be somewhere, he's going to be there. Right. And if I'm not, I tell them, and then I actually and then I start to believe it as well. And I do think it kind of revolves all the way back around to the subconscious mind.
Yeah. You are 1000% dead on.
Trust. If anybody's going to turn and fix your marriage or relationship, it all starts with being absolute. Actually, I got that from a personal development book. I got that from
they all say it in some shape or form.
It was Jocko Willnick's book.
Okay.
Extreme ownership is what it actually was. And the principle of extreme ownership, and if I'm not a therapist, so take this into context, was every single condition in your life right now, good and bad, is your fault. Your house got blown over by a hurricane, is what he says. That's your fault. Well, how's that my fault? That's not right. You chose to put a house in a spot where there could be a freaking hurricane.
Correct.
And so I love the whole idea that it gives from somebody that has suffered depression. It gives me a sense of control that good and bad is actually in my control. As we start to bring it in for a landing, I'd like to know what books you're currently reading, who in terms of coaches or other influencers that you follow. We've mentioned Goggins. Tony Robbins would kind of come up, but what are your
books like my current book. So right out the gate, my favorite author all around is John Maxwell. He's known as the guru of leadership.
Club, yeah, I was a member of that.
across every business. Like that's the guy people turn to for leadership.
What was the deal with him though? Like he was really overweight and had a heart attack and whatnot like that. It was very I'm trying to think what the incongruent.
Kind of similar situation. Like he because like and I saw this from him many years ago because I've been to a few of the seminars. Is how can you be a leader in business
and be fat
if you can't lead yourself, if you can't lead your family life, if you're not healthy and you're not showing up for yourself or your family, and you want to call yourself a leader in business? Well, there's no such thing as anything in business if none of these are actually taking place in your personal life first. And I believe that. And I stress that very hard. I called the guy out yesterday. I just met with a couple 2 days ago. They were having a little bit of a rocky relationship. I'm not a relationship expert, but I am a behavior specialist. I understand human nature. And there's a lot of just basic principles that are not necessarily relationship oriented that bleed into a relationship. And it's like, and they're telling me like, I'm great at leadership. I'm great at sales. I lead my team great. Everyone's successful, making good money. And I'm like, but dude, you and your spouse right now are telling me that you guys hate each other. I'm like, so what the hell kind of leader are you? Because I'll tell you right now, I would never follow your steps. I don't care how successful you are in business because I'm going to catch you anyways. Even if I was a rookie, why would I follow you? And so like that was like a square hit in the face. And he was like, no one's ever called me out like that. And I'm like, well, that's probably why I'm sitting here.
Yeah.
And so but yeah, John Maxwell. So my current book is called No Limit. And again, obviously, as you said, you can tell from my personality, I truly believe in a limitless lifestyle and limitless potential if you apply yourself. And then just some other influencers that I follow. Andy Frisella is probably one of my favorite. He is the CEO, founder of
75 Hard. Love him.
100%.
He's badass.
Yeah, he's a man's man.
Yeah.
Him, Ed Milet, and a few other guys that are up there at the top. But really, like right now, my main guy is Andy that I really follow because I relate so much with him between his personality and his ambition. And one of the things for me, like one of my drivers is, I tell this to everybody that I come across, whether I'm speaking at a treatment center or if I'm just with a recovery coach with a client. My first 5 years of getting sober was just for me. Like no one else mattered. I had to get clean. But then when I started to enter that first decade, I started to realize like, being sober is not for me or the people I love anymore. Now I want to be sober because I want to be that leading example of what recovery looks like on the other side. I want to show people that the grass is greener on the other side. If you can actually turn all this junk into a superpower and want to apply it into actually building and developing a better life for yourself.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's all about being an example and hope, as your magazine says, for people so they have something to look and be like, I want that. This guy's healthy. He's fit. He's got his mind
happy,
right,
man.
critical thinking. He's in business. He's kicking ass. Like, I want that. Like, I want to feel good. Like this guy, I want to feel the way this guy feels. Whatever juice he's on, I want that shit.
Yeah.
And, and that's why. And then after that, like my ambitions in life with success, business, money, wealth, is because I want to provide opportunities to my closest circle to develop wealth and where they'll never receive that opportunity anywhere else. I want to give them the opportunity to change the trajectory of their life forever. And that's why I don't turn it off. It's not because I don't want to, it's because I got so much I want to accomplish and so much I want to give back And again, us that come from that background, our circles are very, very tight. And I believe in people need to develop a set of principles and values that are almost impossible to reach, even for yourself. Because then when you actually deliver on yourself, you can demand that from the other people around you.
So
and
good.
those that actually meet that standard and those principles, they enter that bubble and they become part of your circle. And then, you
So
have
top back to books. Top, that's really, really good, by the way. Top 4 or 5. I never asked number. I stopped asking people what's their number one because nobody can ever think of it. So top 4 or 5, 3, 4 or 5 books.
Your next 5 moves, No Limit, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, the 360-Degree Leader, and Magic of Thinking Big.
Wow, those are good, man. I expected a little Napoleon Hill in there.
I Think and Grow Rich is in there, but I usually recommend that to people that it's different. The ones that I
What book
mentioned.
did you start with? What was it? Were the first thing that you thought when you started to turn?
Think and Grow Rich.
Think and Grow Rich, man.
Because I was a drug dealer, man. I wanted to make money. Like I didn't want to be broke. But I didn't read that book when I was dealing. It was when I got sober. Because like my thing was like, how they say, how people say, don't forget where you come from. For me, it's like, no, motherfucker. I never want to be back where I was. I never want to go to be that person. I never want to be in that position again.
Yeah.
And so my first thought process was like getting healthy and understanding the principles of success in business. And so Think and Grow Rich was my very first book. And
man, I really like you. I think you're a really cool, cool cat. And I didn't know you very well before, but like, I like all this kind of stuff. I like, I like manly stuff. I always tell people I'm the guy that, roll around in the parking lot if you piss me off, kind of stuff. Although I'm usually pretty, I like to think I'm kind of gentle. I'm also pretty freaking ornery too.
Sure.
But, and that's why probably one of the reasons I like Andy Frisella and David Goggins. I like Navy SEALs. I watch war movies and shit like that.
Yeah, man, I'm the same.
I'm all down on all the, all the whole conquering type of stuff. But at the end, I just want to actually be around people that love me and feel good about myself, be peaceful. So
I think that's the other thing too. You just said, I think people, part of being at peace is also learning and understanding the power behind vulnerability too. I think that's a big, when you try to pretend like you're invulnerable, I mean, again, that's separate from emotional invincibility, like what I was saying. But when you can learn how to be vulnerable and open and transparent, that's a whole nother level of peace that follows with that, and I think a lot of people try to pretend because you got society that tries to make you think you got to be this macho super monster person, and yeah, maybe in certain areas of life like business or whatever, but you still got to learn how to be vulnerable too. That's also another way of how you slow it down a little bit.
Good stuff, man. How can people connect with you? How can they find you, follow you, all the kind
so
of
my Instagram is Sean _Parvi PARVI_Alexander. And my website is www.riseagain.co, so .co. Usually best ways to get a hold of me through there. And it has direct access to my emails if they want to contact me. And I'm always here to help.
Right on, man. Well, really, really good stuff. It's the kind of thing I like to talk about. Some people frame it in a different thing, like, what after? I don't like the idea of people just getting sober and their whole goal is just to stay sober. Like, I think that there is like this
anxiety driven, man.
Yeah, I just think that there's this enormous potential, like this giant battery that's inside of a recovering addict that is crying out to be expressed in some kind of way, man. I didn't ask this. I already stuck the landing, but I have to ask this too. What is your purpose and what is your mission in life, man? What are you and what is that about?
So one is what I just mentioned a second ago is becoming for me now at this point, because I can stop at a basic 7-figure income if I wanted to and just call it a day, but for me, part of my purpose is providing opportunities to people that I love where they can actually change the trajectory of their life, where they can have that opportunity to make that kind of money. and really have a whole different lifestyle than they ever imagined. That's one. My second thing is, I know this might sound weird to people, but I am definitely on a mission to help save dogs across the country, if not the world.
Who doesn't want to get behind that, man?
But really, like, I want to build what I'm going to call it is puppy sanctuary, and I want to destroy every euthanizing shelter that's out there and have my own staff and people being hired by me directly, where we basically, it's like a zoo, it's a zoo of dogs. And I just have a special place for them in my heart. I think they're definitely man's best friend. And I think addicts definitely should have a dog. Helps with, peace and meditation. And then after that is really doing other bigger things across the world. Like, that's really where my last mission is at this point.
Really cool.
And again, leading my life by example for those that are fighting this war on drugs and alcohol.
Yeah. Good stuff, man. Well, you can get back to Sean at riseagain.co, not .com, riseagain.co. We'll have all your Insta and all the stuff in here. And thanks for the conversation, man. I really it lit off a bunch of dopamine in my brain. And so good stuff, man.
I'm super grateful. The number I called you on earlier, that is my direct cell phone. So love to be in touch with you.
Man, I'll give you a shot. I'll probably give you a shot sometime later today, man. So,
okay. Sounds good, man. I appreciate your time. Thanks so much for this opportunity.
Okay. And this has been another interview with Recovery Today magazine, and it is a wrap. Thank you, brother.
Thanks. Have a great day.